They were looking for an executive director, and I had no nonprofit experience. All I knew was sports, and something I couldn't pass up to try and be the new executive director for the Durham Sports Commission. It was beautiful. It was fun. There were times it was tough. Everybody kind of knows what happened during that time period, but for the tourism industry, we shut down conferences, businesses stopped traveling, government stopped traveling, all these things stopped happening. And you're like, okay, well, what do we do now? But our focus really became about how do we rebuild the community again? How do we rebuild through tourism? And sports became the way to do it. Are we impacting the right people the right way? Does the community support this? Will they enjoy it? Will they be proud of it? Because there's a pride that needs to come with having visitors here. Got a good feel for what the community was going to be like. But I think the piece that I also enjoy, and you'll enjoy too, is
welcome back. I'm excited to introduce you to Ashleigh Bachert.
Yes.
The Executive Director at Discover Fort Smith, the Fort Smith Convention Center, and Visitors Bureau. She's bringing fresh energy to our tourism and visitor experience, and I'm eager to dig into your vision.
Thank you.
Speaking of vision and all of your experience, we were just chatting about the calendar that y'all put out every month. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us how you get people to respond to it and a little bit about the calendar?
Yeah, so we do a monthly calendar of events. It is a sampling. I'm very clear with everybody. It's truly just a sampling. There's a lot more going on in Fort Smith. So if you get the calendar, that's not all that's happening. But we really just work with our partners and ask them to submit. But what's so great is it's tied to our website. So if you're hosting an event, you can go on discoverfortsmith.com, go to events, and then there's a spot to where you can submit your own event. You control the content, you control everything. We approve it on the back end, obviously, just to make sure that everything's PG, we got everything cleaned up and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really a labor of love by the community to make sure that that is filled out to the best of their ability. Fun fact, it's our number one page on our website. SEO, it is the top thing. If you search what to do in Fort Smith, our calendar of events pops up. And it's been years like that. So it truly is probably one of the best places you can go, both to submit an event and have people know about it, but also to kind of just find out what's happening.
I didn't realize you could submit an event.
Yeah, we made that change when we submitted over or switched over to our new website. And it really was a game changer. We were spending somewhere between 40 and 80 hours a month. Combing through everything and submitting and putting it on our website. And when I came in, I said, there is absolutely no way I can lose a body for a week to 2 weeks to get this done. There has to be some ownership by community members. So we made the switch with the website of the ability for people to submit on their own. And it's been a game changer. It's been great to have community events and it not just be, hey, we've got this concert or this really big tourism event, things like that. It truly is. There's things about yoga. There's, the mugs group that Fort Smith Coffee Company does. It truly is kind of a community calendar.
And on there, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you will.
You're good.
But doesn't it tell you if things are free or you have to pay for them?
That is
it color-coded type deal, or does it just say the
So
fee?
the calendar of events that we put out that you'll kind of see on social media a week to 2 weeks prior to the start of the first of the month, that one is color-coded.
Yes, that's the one I'm referring
versus
to.
Paid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's one of the mandatory fields when people go to submit events is we want to know kind of what that price point is. And then Joanna Hernandez does our calendar of events on our social media, and she kind of comes through to give a good mixture. Hey, we want things that are free, but we also want our ticket of events to do well. So it's a balancing act when we look at that.
I share it as soon as I see it though, because I'm like, I love it. And that just my OCD brain is that color coding. I'm like, yes, this is just perfect.
Emily made that change with Joanna, and that's the way her brain thinks. And it's, to your point, it has made a lot of people, they're like, okay, now it makes sense.
Yes.
A little bit better than what it did. And it was always a really great tool. So I'm so appreciative of the team before this group that kind of helped create that and build it. And then we just keep tweaking it to make it better, which I think is the goal of any project.
Everything's always evolving. And
exactly.
Yes. So, Ashleigh, let's begin with your journey. What brought you into tourism and how did you end up here in Fort Smith?
Yeah. So I was telling you, kind of briefly mentioned, I'm originally from North Carolina. I'm from the Durham area. So Triangle, kind of think about Research Triangle, and grew up in sports. My parents really do laugh. Like, Ashleigh was the one that wanted to do everything and wanted to try everything. I have two sisters, one older, one younger. And I was the one that was like, I had to be doing something at all times. And I landed on softball being my deal. That was what I wanted to play. What's funny is both of my sisters, we all played softball in college. So it kind of became the family deal. But I went up to the University of Connecticut, got my degree, played softball, went down to Southern Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg. I moved 2 weeks after Hurricane Katrina happened. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience for, being in sports and being in college sports, because I worked for the university, just what we can do through the platform of sports, really, to help a community thrive, rebuild, especially in that time period, the rebuilding process, because Hattiesburg was hit pretty hard. Mm-hmm. But I was only there for a year. I laugh and tell people all the time, you're young and you're dumb at 22. Like, you just don't know. Like, I look back and I'm like, that was not the decision. But I left and I went up to the University of Louisville and worked in their athletic department for 3 years. Went over to IU and worked there for a year and a half. Had my daughter when I was in Bloomington. And realized, hey, I can't work the athletic schedule any longer. If anybody knows anybody in college athletics, it's 80-plus hour weeks, and it's grueling to have a kid when you're in that setting. So I jumped out and did hotel sales for a year and a half. Again, didn't know that it was going to take me down this pathway. I still reference a lot of what I learned at that Holiday Inn Express. But then moved to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and there's like no sports jobs there. Like, it's a Marine Corps base. Mm-hmm. That's what you're known for. It's the largest one on the East Coast. And so I was like, what am I going to do in Jacksonville, North Carolina, other than work on the Marine Corps base? And luckily, they had started a sports commission well before I made the move. And the sports commission was really there to build tourism through the sports industry. And they were looking for an executive director. And I had no nonprofit experience. All I knew was sports. So really took a chance on me and allowed me the opportunity to grow that area through the work. And we had a different pathway. I mean, it was, let's build events. Let's start events up. We did a football jamboree with high schools on the Marine Corps base, which is always interesting when you have to vet 3,000 people through the government.
You can only imagine
gates.
that. Mm-hmm.
So we had that event. We had a basketball event. We had a big soccer event that we supported. We started a lacrosse event. So we really found our niche of these like homegrown built events and inviting people in to be a part of that. And then my hometown came calling, and it was such a great opportunity and something I couldn't pass up to try and be the new executive director for the Durham Sports Commission. And it grew me in ways I wasn't prepared. It was back in a little bit of college setting. They've got Duke University. They've got North Carolina Central University. So dealing with a private institution and a historically Black college was very interesting. You have the Durham Bulls, which is an iconic brand, and there's such big players in that area. But that was really how do you build this thing from scratch? It was everything had to be built from scratch, and it was beautiful. It was fun. There were times it was tough. But I also learned what it was like to be on the Convention and Visitors Bureau side with a sales team, because we were housed in the same area. And that's when I realized, like, oh, there's more to tourism than just sports. Like, this is all I've known. And, and they're dealing with massive events. They're dealing with tough events. And I was like, okay, like, we would sit down with the sales team. I'd be like, well, what about this? What about that? And kind of just partnering and collaborating on different things. And I was like, I think I want to do this. I think I want to grow. And wasn't able to do it in Durham, which was fine. Like, I completely understood that. It hurt to leave family, but I got headhunted to the job in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I moved 2 months right before, because 2 months seems to be the trend right before the pandemic started. So I moved Martin Luther King Jr. weekend of January. The pandemic hits March 9th. And, it's a whole new world for tourism, especially in Tulsa and across the world. And we dealt with a lot of the labor. I'm sure everybody kind of knows what happened during that time period. But for the tourism industry, like, we shut down conferences, businesses stopped traveling, government stopped traveling, all these things stopped happening. And you've got a team of 17 and you're like, okay, well, what do we do now? And we had to go through layoffs and go through that side of it. Luckily, I was kept on. Most of the team stayed intact. We lost a few people. But our focus really became about, like, how do we rebuild the community again? How do we rebuild through tourism? And sports became the way to do it, because little Timmy's parents and little Jane's parents weren't going to stop the travel. I mean, I joke that I was on a softball field with my daughter in April. It happened in March. We were on a ball field in April. We weren't going to take away those opportunities. And we saw that again with sports through the travel side. And, we were hosting equine. We were hosting wrestling was our first official event back. Like,
really?
Yeah. We hosted a USA Wrestling Junior Duels event. First event back.
That's
out
a little
of the
surprising
pandemic.
to me, just because of how close
proximity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of it was like, you had to be tested prior to coming in. I mean, we worked with the Department of Health heavy. And those are the things that I think about my career. And I'm like, I know about water pollutants because of Ironman. Like, I know about, like, random things that you probably shouldn't know about, but you do because of what I experience and what I do. And so kind of fast forward, I was there for 3 years. My role changed 6 times in 3 years. So every 6 months, essentially, my role was changing. And I was like, hey, I think I'm built for the leadership side of this. And I think family, like, Tulsa's a big city. We were in Jinx. My daughter was kind of getting lost in school there. I mean, she's a great kid, doing all the right things, but just like, I kind of wanted that smaller setting. I wanted what I had. I wanted that for her. And so this opportunity came up. Funny story, it's between this and Dothan, Alabama. And to keep her close to her dad, we ended up moving into the Fort Smith area, but it's been a really great experience. She's thriving. There's so much opportunity here. So it really was an opportunity to develop my career in a way that also supported the family. And I hear a lot of those stories when people talk about moving into the area. It's that dual.
Yeah, and I don't think people really realize that Fort Smith is so close to so many larger cities too. Mm-hmm. But you get that feel that you want for your kids in a smaller area as well. Yeah. Because you're 4 hours to Kansas City, 4 hours to Dallas, 3 to Oklahoma City, and 2 to Tulsa. Yeah.
You're not that far from Memphis. No. You're not that far really from Nashville. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of options. Like, we're kind of centrally located, which is awesome. Like, we use that as a selling point all the time. But from a personal perspective, my daughter comes in, she's like, well, they don't have, she's a little bougie. She has her moments. She's like, they don't have Lululemon. And I'm like, okay, but it's like right up the road in Fayetteville. Like, it's not like this is a haul and you're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, but there's something to be said about knowing the people that are around you and feeling at home instead of feeling like you're just in the middle of a big fishbowl. Like, that's not really living a life, especially at her age and with a family. I wanted that for her because that's what I had and, what her dad had and stuff like that. So I was like, I want you to know the people in your school. I don't want you to get lost because you're in a class of 1,000+ people. Like, let's slow down and get you into something where everybody knows everybody and the values are there that, we appreciate.
Because I'm newer, you're newer to this area, but I feel like the community has been really accepting as well. So it's been easy for my kids to transition into new schools as well. Yeah. So I can appreciate that about Fort Smith, Greenwood, just the River Valley area as a whole. So perfect. So in 2023, you stepped back into this role. What was your first impression of Fort Smith, and what did you see your biggest opportunities or challenges right away?
So first perception, we came on a Sunday and it was raining. I think I interviewed in September. Yeah. I mean, we came up for a visit because I wanted to see the community before I, in-person interviewed. And it was early September, late August, and it was a dreary Sunday. Probably wasn't the best time to come up, but it was an opportunity, I think, for us to see it at its true self. There wasn't the glitz and glam of, hey, we came over Peacemaker or we came over this event. And, you kind of see a city at its best when you've got larger events that are happening or things that are going on. So we truly saw it when things were shut down because it was a Sunday and people were at church. And I got a good feel for what the community was going to be like at its slowest, knowing hey, this is only going to go up from here. So, I think in general, it's easy to drive. I mean, immediately it was like, okay, it's easy to get around. That's a selling point. I can sell that. Again, everything was through the eyes of hey, I'm a visitor, but what am I going to have to sell if I get this job? Mm-hmm. So it's easy to get around. It has the basic amenities that event goers are going to want. It has, honestly, a really great food scene. Okay, that's a part of every visitor's journey. They have to eat. Mm-hmm. So the core basics were there. I think in terms of okay, what do I see coming out of this? I'm okay, the convention center, we could be doing more. We could be driving more events in there. We could be doing a lot more with sports. Again, being the sports person, I think that's always something that I will never do well if I have to be in a city that doesn't accept and celebrate the sports scene because it's been a part of my life for so long. So for me, it was very much Ben Guerin's a really great place. We know that we have a good volleyball program here. The schools are really great. There's an opportunity there that I'm not seeing in any of my research, in a very good opportunity because of what the industry spends on sports travel. And then I think it was just the marketing. It was telling Fort Smith's story, and everything up to that point had been everything I'd researched, Old West, Old West, Old West. And, I think I come over the bridge. I think everybody comes over the bridge from Oklahoma, and you get that feel. I mean, it's a historic downtown, but you keep going through the city, and I'm okay, but there's a newer something, and then there's a really great restaurant that doesn't fit the Old West feel. There's still really good shopping with the boutiques that doesn't match the Old West feel. And I'm okay, we've got to figure out a way to market this as a Old West meets modern experience. And that, I think, was probably one of the biggest opportunities for us, was just changing up our messaging when I started. So
I'll say whenever we came to interview for my husband's position, when we were downtown, I didn't see Garrison at first because we came in from a different direction. We actually were driving from out of state and did not come through the Oklahoma way. Long story short, I have been pleasantly surprised on so many different aspects on downtown, and I do a lot of community tours too for people that are relocating here. So taking them from downtown, down Rod, so much changes, you know, even over to Phoenix and Zero and all the different neighborhoods in Greenwood, Rye Hill, Chaffee Crossing. There's just so much to offer here as well. Heritage area as well. And try to hit on it's hard. It's hard to try to hit it all, all of it within a 2-hour period.
And the fact that we have 2 universities. I think a lot of people lose that thought process. And it's oh, well, we just have this one university. It's no, you have a public school with UFAS. And I'm that's, it has an athletic program. It has, really great programs for associates, for bachelors, for masters. It has a lot of it. Oh, and by the way, you also have AIC.
Yes.
You have a great medical college that's, really starting, I think, to finally hit its stride and go through that. And I'm that's not common in a city this size to have 2 universities. And I think it shows the growth of the area. And ultimately, I think even too, it shows the city betting on itself. Hey, we can do this. We can sustain it. We are good enough for these things. So I I appreciate that side of it 1,000%. And for me, Phoenix and Rogers feel like two separate worlds.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix, Rogers, Garrison. It's like three different worlds. And I'm like, I love that.
That's what I'm saying. Because when I'm taking them, they're like, whoa, I didn't expect this or I didn't expect that, you know? And my thought is, yes, yours is tourism, correct?
Yeah.
But what if whoever's touring here for sports, right, that they may be looking for a university or they may be finishing up university and looking to do med school. My thought is always to try to retain people in the area. So I understand.
Yeah, and I quote Lieutenant Governor Pinnell out of Oklahoma all the time. He's now over top of economic development, but he was with tourism. And he would constantly say that tourism is the front porch to economic development. Like, you have to be a visitor first. And that really has resonated. He's spoken at some conferences on tourism, and it has resonated within our world a lot because I think it puts into place, like, there's a lens there that even if you're looking at it of like, hey, I'm going to relocate this project, whatever it may be, the site tour is essentially a visit into the community. Like, that's all it is. And the community has to show well. And they're experiencing the same thing that the visitor experiences. Now we get to curate it a little bit more. Like, we know what's coming. Right. So we can let people know, like, hey, this group's going to be in, whatever it may be. But at the same time, like, they're still just a visitor. And there's been plenty of times, in Tulsa or even in Durham where, events would happen and you get the right person attending that event. It happened with PGA championships in Tulsa. And we had a group that came in and they were just hosting a group. And they fell in love with the community and they started talking to economic development about, hey, we think we want to relocate our whole entire headquarters into Tulsa. Like, let's sit down and talk, because they had a great experience. Like, that's the power of tourism. That's the power of all of this is like, hey, can we get more people, or can we just continue to improve our quality of life in a way that retains the workforce that we have, the community members that we have, and we raise up their quality of life while also making sure that it's great for new people to come in.
I love that you connected the two.
It's the job.
Yes, it is. So Discover Fort Smith's role is more than just marketing. From your view, how does a strong tourism arm impact quality of life for residents, not just visitors? You kind of hit on it a little bit. But
it really is this whole idea of like, when we're bringing in events, when we're recruiting events, because we have a team that solely is out there recruiting events to bring in. When we're recruiting those events, does it match the vibe of the community? I had the experience in Durham, and I think this perfectly encapsulates it. Durham, there's no race majority. If you look at it, it was home to the other Black Wall Street. Tulsa had the original. And they had an opportunity, quote unquote opportunity, to host a KKK conference. I mean, it came through the system. We could have. And the community came out against it, rightfully so. Like, it's not like I lean in that direction. I don't. It was a big deal within our department of figuring out, like, this doesn't feel right. Like, this just doesn't feel right. But we had a Black CFO and COO at the time who she went through and said, hey, like, we treat it like any other conference. Like, at the end of the day, like, that's what we have to do. And you go through those moments and you're like, okay, but this doesn't match the community. Like, we know that this is going to cause issues between our community and the attendees. Like, we know it's going to happen. And that's like the most drastic version of this. So when we go through and our team is looking at it, it's like, does it match the community? And how do we do it in a way that the community is going to celebrate it and be okay and be excited and will brag about it? In Durham's case, obviously, they came out against it, and the event never even ended up happening because of that. It was funny. I think it was political anyways. But, now we really go through and it's like, okay, who are we as a community? And then how are we just slightly pushing the boundaries of that to continue to move it forward and not just like, hey, we're not the Old West, like, let's get out the model trains. Like, there's a time and a place for that, but how do we continue to elevate that? And those are the moments that I connect the most. It's like, does the community support this? Will they enjoy it? Will they be proud of it? because there's a pride that needs to come with having visitors here, because they're going to come across the residents. And if the residents are like, well, we hate you, like that's not a good visitor experience. So I think that's first and foremost. We really look at how can we use our platform with visitors. We're talking about new projects that are going to be coming down the pipeline and the ability to generate additional sales tax dollars. Like the visitor spending portion of this supports the community. And how do we do that in a way that's supporting it the right way? How do we make sure that we continue to keep mom and pop businesses, open? And I live for those moments where I know that what our work does is keeping the waitresses and the wait staff employed.
I've been a waitress. I know the struggles.
And we've got some, it's the housekeeping staff.
Mm-hmm.
They have families, and if nobody's in hotels, they aren't needed.
Right.
And it's not a guaranteed 40-hour a week job. It's based on
occupancy.
Occupancy. It's based on how many people are going into those restaurants. So I truly look at our work as, if we're doing it right, are we making the lives of the lower class within our community, are we making their lives better? Are we increasing their tips? Are we increasing their hours at work? Are we impacting the right people the right way? And when I go into a Fifth Street cafe, I was just there for lunch and talked to the wait staff, and they're like, we were slammed Monday, like slammed. We had Arkansas Parks and Recreation in for a conference. And they were like, we were just slammed. Like, we had no idea, but it was great. Like, the tips were awesome. And I'm like, good. Like, that means that we did our jobs. So that's where I gain the most joy. That's where I gain the appreciation for what the work that we do impacts the right people. Not that I don't want everybody else to make money. I truly do. It'll happen. But to me, it's like the people that really are in the weeds, supporting, scrubbing the floors, doing all those things. Like, if I can make their lives better, that increases quality of life for residents. They're spending money that maybe they didn't have before. Like, they're now raising, which means everybody else is raising right there with them. So that's my kind of community piece. Obviously, workforce and economic development is a huge one, being able to showcase a city in a way that maybe people weren't expecting, and changing perception for me is huge. Whenever we can talk about, like, hey, the visitor actually thinks this place is really great. Like, here's their reviews on us. And to the resident that's like, well, we don't have anything here. I'm like, well, so-and-so from, Columbus, Ohio thinks that we're great, and like reminding people that we actually have it better than what we sometimes think that we do, I think is always important too.
I think it's important for people in the community to also continue to be involved, because sometimes it's easier just to sit at home and say, oh, well, it's expensive to not, to be able to do things right now. But there are those free events on your calendar, and just making sure you understand what's actually happening and why tourism is so important to our community, for the mom and pop shops and for the people that are, like you said, scrubbing the floors. Because Maddie was here just a second ago, and we were talking about issues in Sebastian County, and a lot of that had to do with needs. And what did she say, 33%, I think, in Sebastian County have issues with just food.
Yeah.
So that ties into what you're saying, and making sure that we are having the tourism here. The occupancy is where it needs to be at hotels, so the staff is able to work and provide for their families.
Yeah.
Well.
I play a game with some of the, like, the Chamber of Commerce does a student leadership group. So when I go in and talk with them, I'll play the game of, name me a profession in Fort Smith, and I can tell you how they're tied to tourism in some matter. Now, it may be the 7th degree of, but I can pretty much lock in any profession in Fort Smith and how it ties to tourism. And that's important. I think sometimes students feel like, well, this is my pathway, and the hospitality realm is completely lost. And I would encourage people, like, hey, there's more to it. Like, there is a connection point there. If you are a giving person, I was listening to the podcast with the Chick-fil-A team, and, like, they're experts at what they do, but I mean, you get the same experience no matter where you are from
Yes.
Chick-fil-A. But it's a memorable experience. Like you probably remember more when you get a bad one at Chick-fil-A. But, as we kind of go through this, it's like, hey, remember, you're an ambassador for. Like, find ways to celebrate your community. Find ways to speak positive about it. Like, if we all speak negative, that's all we're going to hear. Like, we have to speak positive about the community. And that, I think, starts to change. It's that whole thing of like, hey, show gratitude, and you'll see gratitude and you'll see the good things more often. I would always encourage the community, like, show gratitude, try and find the positives. I tell kids all the time, I'm like, even if it's just the fact that you love that we have a Chipotle, like, if that's it, like, talk about it. Like, great. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But find the positives, because it's easier then to continue to see additional positives. But if all we're going to do is complain, that's all you're going to see in the world is the negativity of of it.
And we do have a good food scene. Not just the chain restaurants that, Chick-fil-A's great. Love them to death. Chipotle's amazing, but I love, how do you say it? Bria La Jefe?
Yes.
That was a food truck, I guess, and now has brick and mortar.
We have additional food trucks that are continuing to do it.
Yes.
I love that our team, we go out once a month and we do employee generated content. We randomly select, it's in a generator online now, randomly select a restaurant and we will go and test it out. I had never been to Taste and See across from the mall. We went there and I was like, this food is great. They had chicken and dumplings, which I'm like obsessed with chicken and dumplings.
I love it
all the wrong things. Like, I shouldn't, but it's been fun. It's been fun to experience it. And I don't think even in a year you would probably experience everything, especially when you add in our food trucks, because our food trucks are amazing.
I mean, just explore your own city.
Yes. Rediscover Fort Smith. Stop bashing it. Go out and enjoy it. And to your point, there is some free, like, Levitt Amp on the river, sun going down, like, good music, free.
A good little staycation.
Yes.
Yes. So could you share a project that you're working on that you believe will really shift perception or bring momentum to the area? Are we going to talk about what we're going to talk about?
I was like, are we going to talk about it? It's going to be coming up soon. So we are and have been kind of working on the idea of, can we get an indoor sports facility built? This isn't new. It was actually started before I started here by the previous executive director. I came in and basically was asked by the board, I think in month 2, like, I wasn't expecting to hit it this early. In month 2, it was like, hey, where are we on that project? Can we move it forward? So I requested can I get an additional study done? Like, it's a little bit out of date. I think there's some additional information we're going to need. Can we just invest a little bit more? And I hear a lot about how plans here, like, sit on a shelf. Like, this is actually a plan that we've been reworking it. We've been trying to figure out, like, how we need to shift all the things. So this is not just a sit on the shelf plan. Like, this is a legit business opportunity for the community. Fast forward, the consultant group that we brought on also had access to a group that could back the project, which is rare. Like, I truly just had the right partnership at that time. And the company that goes in and does these across the nation has access to about $2 billion in assets to help fund projects. And their thing is if it makes sense to us, we work the pro formas, we work with different third-party management groups to back the numbers. Then we take it to our group and we see what they think. And this third-party finance group is like, yep, makes sense. We'll back the project. Like, we just got to make sure that the city's on board. So it is an 8-court basketball that converts over to 16 volleyball, which converts to like somewhere between 24 and 32 pickleball. I can't always remember the number, with an additional 30,000 square foot space that we're looking to see, like, hey, can we rent this out and have it be an anchor tenant to an occupational therapist or a training facility, something like that. It'll have concessions, locker rooms, things like that. It would be a game changer for the community.
It's huge.
It's huge. It is. It will rival what Jonesboro is building in terms of size of the court space. Jonesboro is also adding an aquatic center on theirs. I do not want in the aquatics world. It is rare that aquatic centers break even just because it's a pool. I mean, it takes a lot. So this 8-court is like the perfect size for regional to national events, depending on the situation, for them to come through and book. And they said, hey, you're right off of 40. Like, yeah, you don't have major airport, but XNA is not too far. Like, we've got other properties. Like, your kid plays soccer. The places that you'll go for events
been to a lot
is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not these amazing, incredible, like I played softball in Nahunta, North Carolina, beside, I think, a pig. I don't know. It was weird. In the middle of nowhere.
Sometimes I can't even find the fields on my navigation.
Yeah. They're just in the middle of nowhere.
Because my older two are the ones who've played, and we've played in various states.
Yes.
Multiple moves and various states across the U.S. So, yes.
So it's not like it's this perfect storm. You have to have X, Y, and Z before you even consider. It's like, hey, it's more about population size, and it's not just your population size, but like, what does it look like as you go out? And sports parents are usually, 8 hours is kind of that prime. They'll drive anything under 8 hours. Once you hit above that, then you're looking at flight patterns and stuff. So if you look at our 8-hour circumference, the radius out, you pick up Dallas, you pick up Tulsa, most of Oklahoma, you pick up Kansas City, you pick up Memphis, you go down in Louisiana. Like, you've got a really good population size. And then we looked, and again, everything's data-driven in our world. Then we looked at participation rates for basketball, for volleyball, like kind of the top 2 anchors that you see in an indoor facility. And it was above national average in those, or like the radiuses out. It was like, hey, you're above the national average. I mean, more people are playing basketball and volleyball than what the national average is for that particular location. And hey, guess what? Like, there's not really competition in that space. Like, it's a dead area right now. So again, I want everybody to know, a lot of research went into this. It wasn't just a like, hey, Ashleigh's from North Carolina and has only worked at basketball schools. Like, clearly she wants basketball. That's not it. It really was data driven. But what I love about this project is that it's an opportunity for Fort Smith to build something that will generate the revenue. It would be a privately funded event or a privately funded facility, and then turned back over to the city for a mortgage. I think is the best way for most people to understand. It is a mortgage, like just like your house, it's a 30-year mortgage. And, yes, you're looking at max, if nothing ever happens in the building, I think we're somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5 mortgage payment a year. The facility itself is supposed to generate about between $1.7 to $2.2 million in tax revenue for the city, sales tax revenue. And I know that that's spread across consent decree and police and fire and parks and rec and stuff like that. But, it's built. But what I loved about our performer and the team that put everything together is if it gets built based on very conservative projections, like the management fee is built in. Capital improvements, like we're going to have to replace the court in 10 years. That's built in to the performer every single year. Like, there is a line item for capital improvements. That's built in. It's a part of it. There's no surprise 10 years from now, like, we got it. How do we do that? We're going to go back to the city. No, it's already built in. It's going to sit in an account, accrue money, and be ready to spend. But it's not going to lose. Right now, it's not projected to lose more than $500,000 in the first year of its opening.
My mind just goes to so many other sports that can be played there.
Yeah.
Futsal, possibly gymnasium events as well.
So we're looking at
for
gymnastics. We're looking at cornhole. Like people think it's just the backdoor sport. No, it's a legit.
No, that people play professionally.
Yeah, like it's on ESPN.
Yes.
Pickleball. Like that can go in there. I mean, realistically, you could do some sort of tennis event if you needed to. There are martial art competitions that can go in there. It's, free spanned enough that you can go in with different shows, outdoor shows, whatever. Wrestling is obviously a huge one.
Yeah.
And so there's, when I did this back in Durham and we did a very similar study around all of it, or in Jacksonville, we were comparing outdoor and indoor, and it was like long fields. So think football, soccer fields, about 7 sports you can put on it. Diamonds, obviously, you're limited to about 3 to 4. Once you go indoor, you're 27 plus sports. And there's like 500 sports out there.
Well, you were talking about revenue and line by line items, and I'm just thinking about more ways for the city and for the community to understand how impactful this project could potentially be.
Yeah, and I mean it's about bringing in people. I want people to come, spend their money, leave. Yeah. Like infrastructure wise, it's easier on a city unless you're like in Amsterdam or something like that, or even in New York. Like the impact won't be so large that there's major infrastructure needs that are going to come in play. But we want them to come in, spend their money, leave. Like drop into our sales tax, our general fund, help pay down the consent decree, help pay all of our bills, and then go home. And then like have your property tax support wherever you're from. But I think the piece that I also enjoy, and you'll enjoy too, is like as a sports parent, how much money do we spend in a weekend traveling?
We were talking about this a second ago.
And it's like, it's insane how much you spend. Like you can't get away with a hotel less than, and I literally have been doing this, like for less than $300. And that's just the hotel stay. Like now we're not even thinking about all the food and beverage. You're not thinking about the gas. You're not thinking about like all the other things that come into play. So, to keep a family home and save that money, let's just say one weekend out of the year, depending on how large your family is, it can be $1,000+ to save that. Sleep in your own bed, like eat at your own house. Honestly, let grandma and grandpa come and watch you play. Like my grandparents never saw me play. I never played anywhere that they could come. Like I would have enjoyed that. My daughter likes to say core memory. Like I would have loved that core memory to have my grandparents be able to watch me play. Or a sick parent, like who now has the opportunity. There's tons of stories like that. Like just that opportunity alone is so important to remember that this isn't just about the visitor, but it's about our resident. Like how do we make things a little bit easier for our resident? So yeah, this is one of the biggest projects. I've been a part of a couple of studies now in different communities. And I think this is the first time I've actually been able to say like, hey, we actually have a pathway forward that makes sense. And at the end of the day, I've had some people ask, they're like, so what happens if? Like, what happens if it doesn't book the way it does? And I'm like, well, to be honest, like I'm out of a job. Like, no, and I'm not, and I'm not like threat, like, I know that's not a threat, but I'm like, if it doesn't book, like that's my team. Like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Like, and I'm competitive enough that I'm like, I don't fail. Like that's not an option for me. Again, in Tulsa, it was like, we're going to keep our team employed. Like, what do we have to do? Dr. Dart, Department of Health, what do we have to do to get the events rolling again? Because I've got to keep my team employed. Like, we're not going to play this game. So it was immediate. Like, how do we make this? What do we do? Let's test this. Let's test that. And it was to make it successful because failure was not an option during a pandemic. Like, it just wasn't in Tulsa. And it's very much in my spirit as an athlete, like failure is not an option. Like it may fail, but we're going to learn and we're going to adapt quick and we're going to make this thing work. And that's, kind of what you get with me. I'm very competitive. Like I want to win. Like I want to be the thing of the state.
Even fencing.
Yes. I love fencing.
Yeah. So anyway, so what's your vision for Fort Smith in 5 years, especially in how people perceive it and how it functions as both a place to live and visit?
Yeah, I think 5 years is a lot's going to change. I mean, you've got the connector, that highway project will still be kind of in its phase. It's going to take a while, but I think with people knowing that's coming, like our population size and it's just going to change. It's changing every year now. So I think my vision is that we are seeing more of a modern Western version of how we talk about ourselves. We don't lean on only talking about Judge Parker and Bass Reeves. Again, phenomenal people in our history and can tell and connect story with Judge Parker and how law now and great that we have that in our history. But that not be the only thing that we talk about. Realistically, I would love to get this is my dream.
We're talking about.
I know,
yeah,
I may offend a couple of people on this, but I would like to drop the phrase of the hanging judge. I want that dropped. I mean, realistically, we're living in a world now where if you say the hanging judge, there's a negative connotation that comes with it, and I think that shuts people off from thinking about Fort Smith in a positive way. Mm-hmm. It's our history. But that wasn't all he was about, and that's not what he appreciated.
I learned about that too.
Yes.
On a recent tour to the museum and everything. And yes, that was a time period that occurred that's awful. And did you know he did not attend a single hanging?
Yeah, he did.
No,
that is not what he wanted.
Statistically, no, he didn't want those at all. So
I think it's kind of reverting back and saying, hey, let's reframe some of our history. I would love to talk more about the impact that we've had on Native Americans. I mean, we were the last stop before the Trail of Tears going into Oklahoma, and I don't think we talk enough about that piece of it. So I think there's parts of our history that we don't talk about. There's parts that I would I want to reframe that. I want to drop certain things that are said. So that if you're a history buff, if you are somebody that's of Native American descent, if you are somebody that enjoys law, we're not turning you off from our community because of how we frame things historically. My biggest hope is that the work that we do, inspires new industry and I'm not taking away from what Tim Allen and, Tanya Sarlis and that team does at the Chamber of Commerce, because I don't want economic development, but I want what we do and our placemaking and our marketing efforts to support and give them the edge to recruit new business. I want the vision that we have and my team has. There's 3 of them. We're a team of 7. 3 of them are from Fort Smith or Greenwood area, River Valley. The rest of us are not from here. So we kind of push and pull against each other of okay, what do you know? If I do this, is it going to be taken and stuff like that? Again, just a really good devil's advocate within our rooms when we're talking about visioning and we're talking about messaging. But I want to message and I want to have a vision of growth that's celebrated by residents. And it not be seen as you're trying to change our community. It's no, I'm trying to level up the community. I don't want to take away from the history. I don't want to take away from the diversity. I want to level up the diversity. I want to showcase it. I want to celebrate it. And I want everyone to celebrate it. And hopefully in 5 years, we get to a point where it's hey, as a community, we can bet on ourselves. We trust, we are good enough. Because I think that's something that's lacking is this pride of where we live. I think we're compared so often to Northwest Arkansas. I hate that. I'm we are not Northwest Arkansas. Bentonville and that area had it was a blank slate, and money built it the way it needed to be, how they wanted it to be built. We are steeped in history. We are rich in tradition. We are rich in culture. There have been fundamental times in our history that have shaped who Fort Smith is. And I want us to be able to come in and say, we are Fort Smith and we're unique and we love it and we celebrate it and we want everybody to know about it. I want to walk into city directors meetings and hear positivity. These are all the things that I want, and it's going to take time. It's going to take the wins. It's going to be taking, more Bass Pro wins, more Heritage wins, more UFIS wins. It's going to take more of those wins, I think, for the community to finally sit back and say, okay, we've got this. We're better than what we think we are, and get that spirit back. That's really my vision and my hope.
I love your vision.
I'm all for it.
Can I be your cheerleader in the back?
It's going to be a team aspect. I mean, nothing's done just with us. I think what you guys are doing at Heritage is wonderful. I think what UFIS is doing. I look around the room and I'm like, God, if we can just get more opportunities for the players to sit down in a room and talk about what do we want our vision to be? Because I think right now it's very this little group. Again, just my take. I'm still new, 2 years in.
Just the collaboration of everything.
Yeah, that for me is okay, if the moment I see that happen, I'm like, okay, yep, we're there. Mm-hmm. We're off to the races at that point.
Maybe you'll be the one to kind of head that up.
Maybe.
So for listeners who are passionate about this area, as you are now, how can they support Discover Fort Smith's mission or get involved in these efforts?
Yeah, so we do have volunteer opportunities. We opened up a new visitor center, so there's the opportunity to kind of get in and interface, I think, with visitors more often. We have a couple of staff members in there, but if anyone wants to volunteer, that's an option. We do partner up with events. So we have the Great American Conference, men's and women's basketball championships that will be coming back in March. We always need volunteers to support that, along with some of the additional road races and events kind of across the community. I think if anybody, I'm an open door. I love hearing from people, positive or negative. Honestly, if you want to come at me for anything that I've said on this, I want to hear that more so just because I want to understand where our resident is coming from. I want to know if what I'm talking about mismatches in any sort of way, because it may be something I just don't realize, so as I'm talking with groups and stuff, I very much want the community to support what we're doing. So discoverfortsmith.com for our website. All of our social media is underneath the same thing, but feel free to stop by our offices or give me an email or a call. All of that can be found on the website as well. I want to hear from people. I truly just want to make sure that what we're doing is something that a majority of the community will support. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think if I can make sure that we're doing at least what the majority feels is the right move, then we're in the right spot.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being here.
This has been fun.
Sharing your insight. It's a fresh view for me as well. And I hope this episode opens a lot of eyes to tourism, your viewpoint, Discover Fort Smith, and all the exciting things to come.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.